I'm Logan Peterson, and let me tell you, waking up to birds chirping outside my window used to be the best part of my day. This place, my family's estate, 10 acres of rolling lawns, big old oak trees, a classic colonial house, it's been in the family for 3 generations. It's my slice of paradise, right on the edge of a busy suburban neighborhood, but always felt like its own world. More than just a house, it's my legacy. But this one morning, the peace got shattered. Making coffee, I see this woman marching up my driveway like she owns the place. Crisp white blouse, slacks, perfect blonde hair. Looked like she meant business. I'd seen her around, maybe near the park, never spoken. Intrigued, maybe a little wary, I stepped onto the porch. "Good morning," she says, voice sharp, no warmth. "I'm Karen Kennedy, president of the Oak Ridge Homeowners Association." "Okay. HOA president? Why is she here?" "Good morning, Miss Kennedy," I said, offering a hand. "Logan Peterson. How can I help?" She ignored my hand, just pointed right at my hedges lining the property. "I'm here about your landscaping." "Unacceptable. Those hedges are overgrown, don't meet community aesthetic standards." I blinked, looked at my hedges. Maybe a little full, but they looked charming, fit the old estate vibe. "Appreciate the concern," I said, trying diplomacy, "but my property isn't part of the Oak Ridge HOA. This place was here long before the neighborhood, always independent." Her eyes narrowed. "That doesn't matter. If you're within Oak Ridge boundaries, you follow our rules. And our rules demand specific standards." Okay, irritation bubbling up, but I kept cool. "Ms. Kennedy, I assure you, my property is private, not under HOA jurisdiction. I have the original deed, property records proving it." She crossed her arms, defiant. "Dealt with people like you before. Think you're above the rules. Everyone here contributes. Refuse to comply, we issue fines." My patience snapped. I went inside, grabbed the folder with my property records, came back out. "Here," I said, handing them to her. "These documents clearly state my estate is not part of your HOA. My family owned this land for over a century. Always independent." She barely glanced at the papers, just waved them away dismissively. "I'll have our legal team review this. In the meantime, address the hedges. You have 1 week." She turned, marched back down the driveway, heels clicking. I stood there, fuming. The arrogance, the baseless threats. I almost let it go, but something felt wrong. This wasn't just about hedges. Called my lawyer, Jessica, that evening. Family attorney for years. "Logan," she reassured me immediately, "I've seen your records. The HOA has zero legal authority over your estate. They try to fine you? They're breaking the law." Felt better, but still determined. "Thanks, Jessica. I'll keep you posted." Few days went by. Normal life. Tended the garden, walked the dog. But Karen's visit stuck in my head. Knew she wouldn't back down easy. Sure enough, one morning, bright orange notice nailed to my front gate. Oak Ridge HOA logo. Said my property violated community landscaping standards. Threatened a $1,000 fine if I didn't comply in 7 days. The audacity. I ripped it down, called the number on it, HOA office. Got put on hold, then Karen herself answered. "Oak Ridge HOA, Karen Kennedy speaking." "Logan Peterson here," I said, voice firm. "Just found an illegal notice on my property. I've already told you, my estate isn't under your jurisdiction. This is trespassing." Her voice dripped condescension. "Mr. Peterson," as I said, "our legal team will review it. Meantime, comply. Save yourself trouble." I clenched my jaw. "Karen, one more time, stay off my property. Any more stunts like this, there will be legal consequences." She actually laughed smugly. "Do what you feel you need to, Mr. Peterson. But remember, the HOA maintains community integrity. Cooperate, or you'll find it hard to stay here." Click. Okay, now it was personal. She wasn't just overstepping. She was intentionally trying to bully me. This wasn't about hedges, it was about her power trip. Spent the rest of the day gathering more evidence. Photographed the damaged gate where the notice was nailed. Documented every interaction I'd had with her and the HOA. Built a solid record of her harassment. That evening, sitting on my porch, glass of wine, looking out at my beautiful, peaceful property. Oak trees swaying, sunset painting the sky. This was my sanctuary, my family's legacy. No way was I letting someone like Karen Kennedy take that away. I figured the warning call might make Karen back off. Wrong again. She was relentless, maybe even obsessed. The next week was just a series of increasingly bizarre and aggressive moves from the HOA, clearly orchestrated by her. It started small, but calculated. A landscaping crew shows up one morning, unannounced, parks right by my gate. I go out, thinking wrong address. Nope. Foreman has a work order. Bring property into compliance with HOA standards. Compliance with what? I asked, already furious. I didn't hire you. This isn't HOA property. He just shrugged, looking tired. Following orders, sir. Says trim hedges. Remove unauthorized garden trellis. Clear clutter visible from road. The trellis? My grandfather built that. Absolutely not. I yelled. Private property. Trespassing. Leave. They hesitated, but packed up and left. Good riddance. Later that day, another letter taped to my door. HOA letterhead. Accused me of obstructing HOA-mandated improvements. Threatened fines, legal action if I kept resisting. Called Jessica, my lawyer. Document everything, Logan, she advised calmly. Every letter, visit, call. More evidence, stronger case if we go to court. So I did. Meticulous records. Installed more security cameras. If they trespassed again, I'd nail them. And they did. Came home from grocery shopping a few days later, found a huge pile of tree trimmings dumped right in my driveway. Blocked everything. Didn't take a detective. My neighbor saw the same landscaping crew working nearby earlier, acting shady near my property line without permission. Infuriated, I marched straight down to the HOA office. Karen's sitting there, cool as a cucumber. Mr. Peterson, she said sweetly. Surprise. Cut the act, Karen. I snapped, slamming my evidence folder on her desk. Your crew trespassed again. Dumped debris in my driveway. Damaged an oak tree. Enough. She feigned innocence. Sorry to hear that. But as I've told you, your property's within our jurisdiction. Adjustments were necessary. I shoved the folder, deeds, legal proof of exemption, photos of the damage, towards her. This proves you're lying. You're harassing me. You're breaking the law. Her confidence finally cracked, just for a second. She pushed the folder away. Legal team will review it, she dismissed. Cooperate. Best for everyone. I grabbed my folder and left, seething. Reasoning with her? Pointless. Arrogant, determined, seemed boundless. The next few days were quiet again. Too quiet. Then, another letter. This one summoned me to an HOA hearing about my noncompliance. Required attendance. The nerve. Demanding I show up to their meeting about their fake rules for my property? Okay, gloves off. I wrote a formal cease and desist letter myself, detailing every instance of harassment, trespassing, everything. Had Jessica send it officially. Warned them, continue this, and legal repercussions will follow. The response? Karen called me directly that evening. Voice like ice. Mr. Peterson, received your lawyer's letter. Let me be clear. Oak Ridge HOA will not be intimidated. We have every right to enforce regulations. I laughed bitterly. Respected? Karen, you've trespassed, damaged property, harassed me repeatedly. You're operating outside the law, and you know it. Her voice hardened. You're making this harder than necessary. Insist on being difficult. We escalate. My grip tightened on the phone. Go ahead, Karen. Escalate. I'll see you in court. Click. Silence. The weight of it all hit me. This wasn't just about overgrown hedges anymore. This was about standing up for my rights, protecting my family's legacy from someone who seemed drunk on her own petty power. Over the weekend, I fortified my property. More no trespassing signs. Called a security company, added more cameras. Started talking to neighbors again. And the stories, wow. Martha, fined $500 for planting the wrong roses. The young couple forced to repaint their door twice because Karen kept changing the approved color list. It wasn't just me. She ruled through fear and control. I compiled the neighbors' stories, keeping names out of it for now, and added them to my evidence file. Reached out to that local journalist again. Time to shine a brighter light on Karen's overreach. As I prepared for the inevitable legal battle, I felt this grim sense of purpose. This wasn't just my fight anymore. It was about holding Karen and the HOA accountable. And I was ready. The morning of the HOA hearing felt like walking into the lion's den. I wasn't part of their club, had no obligation to be there, but I knew ignoring it wouldn't make Karen go away. Showing up, armed with facts, felt like the only way to confront this absurdity head-on. I arrived early at the community center, leather folder heavy with deeds, legal letters, photos of the damage, neighbor statements, my arsenal against their nonsense. The room was already buzzing. Residents packed the seats, whispering, curious. Some gave me encouraging nods. Others looked away, probably scared of Karen's wrath. Karen herself held court at the front, flanked by two grim-faced board members, looking every bit the queen bee, radiating smug confidence. "Mr. Peterson," she greeted me, that saccharine smile plastered on. "Appreciate you attending. Hopefully, we can resolve these issues amicably." I set my folder firmly on the table. "I'm here to clarify, again," I said, my voice steady, projecting confidence I didn't entirely feel, "that my property is not under the jurisdiction of your HOA. I have the documentation right here to prove it." Karen waved a dismissive hand. "We'll get to that. First, the list of violations." She proceeded to read out the same bogus list. Landscaping, unauthorized structures, my grandfather's trellis, even operating a business from home, the occasional photography sessions, totally legal. It was a performance designed to overwhelm and intimidate. When she finished, I calmly opened my folder. "This," I said, holding up the original, notarized property deed, "proves my estate predates your HOA and is legally exempt from its regulations." I passed copies to the board members, whose eyes widened slightly as they read. "And this," I added, holding up Jessica's letter, "is from my attorney, confirming my property's independent status and demanding you cease this harassment." The board members exchanged uneasy glances. But Karen, unfazed. "Mr. Peterson," she said, her voice tight, "while your property might technically fall outside original boundaries, it's part of the community. It's only fair you contribute to standards." My patience wore thin. "Fair," I shot back. "Karen, your crew trespassed, damaged my property, dumped trash in my driveway. That's not maintaining standards. That's harassment and vandalism. I've documented every incident. I held up the photos and logs, and I'm prepared to sue if this continues." The room fell silent. I presented my evidence clearly, methodically. Photos of the damaged tree, the dumped trimmings, the notice nailed to my gate. I read key parts of Jessica's cease and desist letter. As I spoke, I saw the mood shift. Residents who'd been curious now looked angry. Whispers turned into murmurs of agreement. People started looking at Karen differently, skepticism replacing passive acceptance. Even the board members looked deeply uncomfortable, avoiding eye contact. Karen, however, doubled down. "Mr. Peterson," she said, voice dripping condescension, "we're not here for legal technicalities. This is about the greater good." "Karen," I interrupted, my voice ringing with authority I didn't know I had. "This isn't about the greater good. It's about your need for control. You've harassed me, trespassed, abused your authority. This stops now." Before she could retort, Richard, the quiet board member, raised his hand again. "Excuse me," he said, addressing Karen directly this time, his voice surprisingly firm. "I think we do need to address the legal technicalities. If Mr. Peterson's property isn't legally part of the HOA, as these documents seem to prove, then we have no right to enforce any rules on him. Perhaps it's time we reconsidered our entire approach here, Karen." Karen shot him a venomous glare. "Richard, we have a responsibility." "But he's not flouting rules," Richard insisted, clearly fed up. "He's not under our jurisdiction. We need to focus on the properties that actually are." A wave of agreement rippled through the room. Emboldened, other residents stood up. The woman fined for the wrong bird feeder. The couple forced to repaint their door 3 times. Story after story of Karen's petty tyranny and overreach filled the room. Karen's composure finally shattered. Her face flushed crimson, her confident mask replaced by raw irritation and defensiveness. "These are isolated incidents," she insisted, her voice rising desperately. "Everything we do is for the benefit of the community." I decided it was time to land the final blow. "Karen," I said calmly, looking her straight in the eye, "this isn't about the community. It's about you abusing your position. But it ends here. If you or this HOA take any further actions against me or my property, I will file that lawsuit." And I looked around the room, meeting the eyes of the other frustrated residents. Judging by the stories I've heard today, I suspect I won't be the only one suing you. The room erupted. Not just applause, but shouts of agreement. Karen stood there, crimson-faced, speechless, utterly defeated as she realized she'd lost control, lost the room, lost everything. The meeting ended chaotically, but with a clear outcome. The board agreed to review everything, effectively sidelining Karen. Though she didn't officially resign that night, her power was broken. Leaving the community center, I felt drained but victorious. Neighbors clapped me on the back, thanked me for speaking up. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I wasn't fighting alone. That night, sitting on my porch, overlooking my estate, I knew the battle wasn't truly over, but the tide had irrevocably turned. I had stood my ground, exposed the truth, and hopefully started a change that would protect not just my home, but the entire neighborhood from that kind of abuse ever again. The HOA hearing was the breaking point, no doubt about it. Karen Kennedy's reign of terror, built on intimidation and twisted rules, crumbled under the weight of truth and community backlash. The weeks following that chaotic meeting felt like the slow, cautious dawn after a long storm. Karen's authority, once absolute, was gone. The neighborhood, which had lived under her thumb for so long, started breathing again. People were talking, comparing notes, realizing just how much power she had abused. Logan, meanwhile, kept documenting everything, just in case, but the direct harassment stopped almost immediately after that public shaming. The first real sign of change came quickly. Logan got a call from Richard, the board member who'd spoken up at the hearing. He was now the interim HOA president. "Logan," Richard said, sounding tired but sincere, "on behalf of the board, or what's left of it, I want to formally apologize for everything you've been through. Karen's actions were unacceptable, and we're taking steps to ensure nothing like this ever happens again." Logan appreciated the call, though a part of him remained wary. "Thank you, Richard. I hope things do change." "They will," Richard assured him. "We're already revising the bylaws, implementing stricter oversight, making transparency a priority, and frankly, dealing with the legal fallout from Karen's tenure." That fallout was significant. Faced with Logan's pending lawsuit, which Jessica, his lawyer, kept active as leverage, and the threat of lawsuits from other residents emboldened by his stand, the HOA was in serious trouble. The final nail in Karen's coffin came when the board, under Richard's interim leadership, voted to formally remove her from any remaining positions and publicly censured her actions. Karen, furious and humiliated, didn't take it well. She didn't just fade away, she lashed out. One morning, Logan woke up to find his beautiful, historic ivy-covered fence, the one she'd tried to have torn down, vandalized. Sections were spray-painted with crude messages like outsider and troublemaker. Logan's heart sank, but anger quickly followed. He checked his security cameras, and there it was, clear as day, footage from the middle of the night, Karen Kennedy herself, caught red-handed, spray can in hand, defacing his property. He immediately called the police and Jessica. This wasn't just HOA harassment anymore. This was criminal vandalism, stemming directly from the HOA dispute. The police arrested Karen later that day. The sight of her being led away in handcuffs was a somber, yet validating moment for Logan and many in the neighborhood. With Karen facing criminal charges and the HOA board undergoing a complete overhaul, Logan finally felt like he could start healing. He settled the lawsuit against the now-reformed HOA out of court. They agreed to pay for the fence repairs, cover all his legal fees, and issue another public apology, specifically acknowledging the harassment and lack of jurisdiction. The neighborhood itself began to transform. The oppressive atmosphere lifted. People started talking to each other again, rebuilding the sense of community Karen had fractured. Block parties returned. Neighbors helped each other out. The focus shifted from enforcing petty rules to actually enjoying the neighborhood. Logan, though still fiercely protective of his property's independence, found himself slowly becoming part of that community spirit. He started chatting more with neighbors, attended a couple of the newly reformed and much more reasonable HOA meetings as an observer, even offered advice based on his own experiences. The elderly couple who testified, the Hendricks, became good friends. They'd often stop by with baked goods, just to chat on the porch. "You know, Logan," Mrs. Hendricks said one afternoon, "what you did took real courage. You didn't just save your own property, you saved this neighborhood from her." Logan smiled, looking out at his estate, the oaks rustling gently. "It wasn't easy," he admitted, "but I couldn't let her win. This place, it means too much." Life gradually returned to a peaceful rhythm. Logan tended his garden, walked his dog, enjoyed the quiet solitude he'd always cherished. The scars of the battle remained, a lingering weariness, the memory of the stress, but they were overshadowed by the peace he had fought so hard to reclaim. His estate, with its ivy-covered fences and towering oaks, stood not just as a family legacy, but as a testament to resilience. A reminder that standing up for what's right, even against overwhelming odds, is always worth the fight. The birds chirped, the sun shone, and for the first time in a long, long time, Logan felt truly, completely at home.